Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic was in some people's minds a showstopper, a show stealer at the Game Awards. But as the dust is settled, I've got a video on the channel right now talking about I'm worried we've got a pattern emerging here, and I've done a bit of research. I want to talk about all of the Star Wars games coming, not just Fate of the Old Republic, but KOTOR, Remake, and the rest. And I've even got some videos about this very topic and why this is worrying, what's Disney's role in all of this, sort of the history of Star Wars games, and a pattern that's emerging specifically with Star Wars games. I'm not necessarily opposed to announcing a game early or anything like that, so we're going to get into it. I'm going to end the previous stream. We were in a morning coffee. That's a great reason to be a member to this channel. You get to start the day. The opening hour of the day is just for members, so consider clicking the join button. Our member count is lower than it's ever been, so we're trying to hit some fun goals, and we're trying to hit some new thresholds, and we'll do some fun celebrations with Christmas on Friday and a whole bunch of stuff. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, so let's get into this. This picture, I think, really encapsulates sort of what I'm worried about, okay? And so I'm gonna show you this picture, and this was made by Culture Crave, and this is Star Wars games that are in the works. So we've got Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic at the top, and then we have Galactic Racer, Jedi 3, Star Wars Zero Company, Star Wars Eclipse, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake, and then Amy Hennig's game, okay? Now, the thing that started to make me feel a growing sense of worry and concern was not the number of games. It's not like this is all one studio that is, making these games and they're going to be constrained or they're not going to be able, to make them or what have you. It's the timelines and it's the history. So let's just first talk about the timelines and then we'll talk about the history. So when it comes to timelines, we had Star Wars Eclipse and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic announced in a very similar way to Fate of the Old Republic over 4 years ago. So it has been more than 4 years that those games were announced, and they were announced in a very similar fashion. A very, very highly produced, big-budget cinematic trailer. And then, nothing. Dead silence. We've heard worrying reports about problems. They switched developers, all this stuff. What have you. Now we're hearing things are back on track, things are better. And thank you guys for going crazy with the gifteds. I will thank everybody when I'm done with this show open. We are having a bit of a bounce back, and boy do we need it, so thank you. So that is the first thing. Like, we're dealing with like a pattern here of announcing something with this big cinematic trailer, and then we get nothing for a very, very long time. And right now, since it's been more than 4 years since those games have been announced, there doesn't seem to be any sort of timeline of when they're coming out. If Star Wars Eclipse or Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake was coming out next year, I would have imagined you would have shown up to the Game Awards with a release date trailer. That would have been, at some level, more exciting, and then that's a great way to start getting like pre-orders and public interest in buying your game. So I don't have any reason to say this confidently. I'm just sort of theorizing that makes me feel like neither of those big games are coming next year. Same with Jedi 3. We know from Cameron Monaghan that Star Wars Jedi 3 was already in production when Star Wars Jedi Survivor was coming out. He'd confirmed they were already making it. And I have a little bit of a theory as to why Stig Asmussen, the director of Star Wars Jedi, why he left Respawn in the wake of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, okay? I have a theory that this is all related to Disney, and I've got a video today that we're going to watch. A guy kind of walks through Disney's history with Star Wars and LucasArts and everything that they're doing, and it really adds credence to my concern about all these projects and all the timing, okay? So what happened with Jedi Survivor, I believe, was indicative of Disney saying, we want a new Star Wars game every 6 months, okay? That's what they said. And Jedi Survivor came out, and it clearly wasn't ready. They took a tiny little delay, but then the director literally did an interview, and he was like, we could have taken more time, but we didn't. And it came out, and it was not ready. It was in abysmal shape on PC, practically unplayable. It was in really bad shape on console. They finally got it to a better place on console. It ended up being one of my favorite games that year. It's wonderful Star Wars, like great lore, great story, great characters, really fun action. It's a fantastic game. It's one of my favorite Star Wars games I've probably ever played. But shortly after they got that game to working order on console, the director left. which to me seems a bit strange. Why wouldn't you want to put that crown jewel final third game in place before leaving? My theory is he left because Disney told him the next timeline for the game, and he was like, I'm not doing this again. I don't want to ship another game that's not ready and have to deal with all the public outcry and scrutiny and anger, and so he leaves. I think that's why he left. I think that is directly related to Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic's director, Casey Hudson, saying, oh, our game's not coming out in 2030, it'll be out before that, because people started speculating. StarWars.com said the game was still in the early stages of development. Now, the reason this is causing me concern is, how often have you heard a game that just gets announced, the studio that's building it was just formed this year, in like May or something, or July or something like that. So like middle of the year, the studio gets formed. They're in the early stages of development. And this guy's saying, oh no, our game will definitely be out in about 3.5 years. That seems completely unlikely that you'd be able to say that with any shred of confidence. Now, Mr. Matty Plays, I like his content. He's very excited about all of this. It's been fun watching his videos and just kind of seeing him kind of geek out. He has a theory that the former game Casey was working on, a lot of those assets can be repurposed and reused in this game. Maybe that's helping jumpstart development. Okay, let's grant that premise. Let's grant that theory. I don't know if that would jumpstart your game enough for you to confidently say, oh no, our game is definitely coming out in 3.5 years. Because track with me, he's saying this in December of 2025. We might as well be in 2026 at this point. So if it's not coming out in 2030, let's just say it comes out in 2029. That's only about 3.5 years of actual development, because once you're about halfway through 2029, you're getting things ready, you're trying to go gold, you're trying to ship your game, you're going into like quality assurance and bug testing at that point. So the game's largely built. So in 3.5 years, you think they're going to be able to build Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic? Do you want to know why I think he said what he said? The same reason that Stig, the former director of Jedi, said that they could have taken more time and they didn't take it. I believe Disney is the reason he's saying what he is saying. They want a strong showing at the end of the year. They don't want speculation from people like Jason Schreier of Bloomberg saying, oh yeah, the game won't be out for 5 years, because right now, Star Wars in video game land ain't looking so hot, because Star Wars Outlaws didn't do that well, it didn't look that well, it had a bunch of performance problems, it doesn't have a great review score overall, and we've got games like Star Wars Eclipse with rumors of problems and troubles, Knights of the Old Republic switched developers, and both of those games were announced over 4.5 years ago. So I believe Disney wants a sign of strength and a show of force in the market, so he's out here saying, oh no, it's not going to take us that long to build this game. I don't think you can say that with that level of confidence when you're in the early stages of development, unless someone has told you this is when your game is coming out. I believe that's what Stig was told for Jedi 3, and I think that's why he walked. That's why I'm concerned. I feel that Star Wars to Disney is nothing more than a way to be in the public. And I've got a great video that'll really establish that later. He essentially argues that Star Wars makes most of its money, Disney makes most of its money from like merchandise and people coming to the parks and things like that. So Star Wars in video game land isn't necessarily about building a great game and a great piece of property. It's about keeping Star Wars in the headlines. It's about keeping Star Wars in the YouTube world. I mean, look at Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. Its video, its trailer on the official Star Wars YouTube channel has like, I don't know, probably close to 3 million views by now, because it had 2 million views like just after the weekend. So they know the power of their brand. They know the power of their brand. They know it has 2.3 million views, okay? So Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic teaser trailer, a 1.5-minute trailer, has almost 2.5 million views just after 5 days on the Star Wars YouTube channel, okay? So you have to think about that. They know this brand has power and they can leverage it in the gaming environment, and we end up getting games that either aren't ready, they've been rushed. I also could see them just canceling these games, because the power of marketing it and advertising it and putting trailers out there, that's great for them. It gets people thinking about Star Wars. It gets people nostalgic. It gets people probably subscribing to Disney Plus or buying Star Wars merchandise for Christmas because you saw a trailer about Star Wars. So, you know, yeah, maybe I should get that kid a Baby Yoda for Christmas or something like that. Like, my daughter hasn't even seen Mandalorian, and do you know how much Grogu Baby Yoda stuff she has? It's absurd. Well, They know the power of the brand, and they know what they can do with it. And that's my concern here, is that these games are just a means to that end. I really, really hope that Disney's getting out of the way and they let these studios build great games, because they've got great vibes, they've got great feels, they've got great content. I mean, we're talking about KOTOR, for crying out loud, hailed as one of the best games ever made by many people, and you've got veterans in the industry working on these games. You've got good studios working on these games. So that's my hope. I hope they get out of the way so that these games can be excellent. Because right now, the worrying pattern that's emerging is they're using Star Wars the same way they did in TV land, and you end up with a lot of crap when they do that. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's talk to the audience. And thank you guys so much for a strong start to the day. The member count is... It's in need of some help, and you're helping right now. Siege Master with the VIP renewal, 48 months. Thank you so much. And a 10 bomb from Siege Master to get us back on track here. We're almost to the first 100 of the week. And thank you, Sneaky Wolf, for also gifting a member. We will do a Frickmas Friday this Friday, and we'll do another one next week. You guys are going to have a shorter window next week to hit the goal, but we'll do a Frickmas Friday. You know, we'll put the Santa hat on, we'll have drinks, we'll have laughs. Maybe I'll have some stretch goals, and you can make me sing some Christmas carols. You guys like that when I did that in the past. There was even a time where we sang Christmas carols written about Destiny. Fuzzy with 49 months at the end of the member stream. Thank you for that. He says, AI can blank my blank, and not the good way. Well, thank you so much, Fuzzy. We appreciate that. So much. We were having a passionate debate about AI. Somebody else ordered some coffee. Thank you, Kale, for ordering some coffee. Guys, don't forget that Reforge Roast is on sale right now, and we ship really quickly. So if you're trying to get some stocking stuffers before the holidays, our light roast and medium roast is $10.95 a bag. That's cheaper than you can get coffee at like the grocery store. Lord Horg is going to add to the member train and get us to 99 members. Thank you so much. Guys, don't worry about the big member bombs, man. If everybody here right now just drops a single, that would be an insane member train. It would be an unprecedented member train. $5 gifts a member to somebody for the whole month. So thank you so much, Lord Horde. And guys, make sure we're hitting the like button as well. We appreciate you guys being here. And the streams, I feel like we've just been having a great vibe here at the end of the year. Like, the conversations have been really good. You didn't have to read that. It was funny. And a single comes in from Spice King, catching the vision of a single train. And we're at our first 100 on the week. I owe YouTube a member. Thank you so much, Spice King. Guys, get us our first 100 likes. I appreciate you so much and all that you guys do for us. And those likes really help. We're only about 10 minutes into the broadcast, and that really can help us find new people. We're also broadcasting in vertical, so we might meet people through the short shelf on YouTube as well. And another one comes in from Rissick. There it is, the Agents of Chaos, pushing us past 100. Thank you so much. Keep it going, guys. Let's have a big, huge, single gifted train. I'm curious what you guys think. We'll go for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then I'll start reacting to the videos. There'll be timestamps below, so if you're watching this later and you're wanting to see those reactions, I'll put those later in the show so that we're able to kind of talk here to kick the show off. But I'm curious what you guys think. Like, the Fate of the Old Republic had everybody kind of geeked, but the dust is kind of settling, and people are like, yeah, I don't know. This seems a little worrying. What about all these other projects that we heard about, you know? Year to date, the top 20 games ranked in dollar sales. Ghost of Yote's in 10th. Man, that game really flopped. They're trying to claim now that the guy leaving Sucker Punch is proof that the game flopped. It's like, he's been there for like 28 years. I think he's either retiring or maybe he wants to do something new. That's the 10th most sold game this year. The game is releasing in 2030, meaning they aren't. And another single comes in. Royal Duck keeps the single train alive. Keep it going, boys. Meaning they aren't even in pre-production, which means the trailer has nothing to do with the real game. This smells like an Anthem situation. They thought they had to churn out Star Wars content. And Wired Rope comes in with a 5 bomb over there on Twitch. Twitch, you're a little bit behind. It's 20-9 today. So get that going. Get that little contest going, Twitch. Answer back. And let's see a good bounce back this week. If we hit 500, we'll do a Friday Frickmas this week. And it'll be a really good time. Who's they? I just saw people on Twitter saying that. I was like, you got to be insane to think that like the game flopped and that's why the director's leaving. Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, it's the 10th most sold game this year. I think the game is going smaller in scope to make development shorter instead of open zone like the Jedi games. Maybe it's a linear level base but more polished. Just sort of more soda. Sorcerer, I got the email. Thank you guys so much for using my... Oh, and another Sprecher order. Thank you so much. Guys, don't forget to use the soda command, the torch command if you're into like infused drinks. We also have the coffee, and then memberships are the real big drive that we're having right now. I was gone for a week in November, and we're trying to kind of bounce back from that. It's how we do this full time. So if you guys have a membership here or on Twitch, man, I appreciate you so much. That's how we do this. 5 years or longer to make game extremely long. And Cat Uncle keeps the member train alive. Another single comes in. It should take 2 years even. 2 years is a long time, especially in AI games. Shouldn't take that long to develop a game. Oh gosh, no. I don't agree with you at all. I do not want development cycles to start shrinking to 2 years. There's not a developer alive that has said that. Nobody has said, oh yeah, we could easily start making games in 2 years, especially if we use AI. Good golly, that sounds terrible. Crispy Bogod says, Merry Frickmas and renews for 51 months, 58 months from JW. 58 months, woohoo, hope everyone's having a great day. Thank you guys so much. We're at 110 already. We're bouncing back. To be on pace, we need to end the day at like 300. And a VIP from Belly Boy. Thank you so much. Yeah, the pattern in the market and the pattern from developers and games and what studios have said, 5 years is sort of like a minimum at this point if you want a big, well-built, good game, especially if they're building for more than one platform, because that tends to slow things down a little bit. They got to make sure everything's working on all the various platforms. Now, even sequels don't come out as fast as you're saying. Like, you know, Spider-Man built off of an existing city and assets and animations, and God of War and all the rest. They built off of games that, you know, that were already in existence, and even they didn't come out in 2 years. Like, that's just absurd to think they could make a game that fast. And not, I mean, smaller scale games, maybe you might be able to get like a smaller scale game, you know, up and running at a faster clip or something, but yeah, I just don't think so. And JW gifts 5 members to the community. Thank you so much. We're at 116. We are a 10 bomb away from the next milestone of me owing you guys a member. Whoever hits it gets it. Try to steal it from the other side. People want these massive, amazing games, but they don't want to wait for them. It is a bit of a contradiction that people get really annoyed when games take a long time to come out, but then they also get annoyed when the games come out and they're clearly not ready. It's like you can't have it both. You can't really have it both ways. I want a really good game. I want a really big game. I want it to come out. I want it to be excellent. I don't want to have any problems or bugs or glitches. Oh, and yeah, it better not take a very long time to come out. It's like, I just don't think that's a reasonable expectation. PS2 dev cycles aren't a thing anymore. You're looking good on Twitter as you're live in both platforms. X is doing a good job sharing streams now, even from YouTube. Yeah, it just embeds it right there on Twitter. Yeah, so if you just retweet it over there, that's super helpful. Yeah, anybody that has a membership right now, if you guys would consider upgrading to Member Plus, we're trying to get back to about 500 people at Member Plus and above. We've slipped quite a bit there, and also with gifting. You know, pay it forward. If you've been getting gifts this entire year from others, you know, a single gift goes a long way. It helps other people get into the Discord. They get into morning coffee, and then they can come to Friday nights. You just retweeted. Thank you, Behemoth. I really, really appreciate that. So many people don't live in reality at all. Astrobot took 3 years. Yeah, even Astrobot took 3 years. That's a small team. That's a very well-built game, a very excellent game, and that one took 3 years, you know. It's a business of using AI. Let companies make games more efficiently. They'll do it. Well, that's a completely separate subject. I don't want to debate that right now. We kind of debated that in morning coffee. I'm going to save that for another day. We're probably going to end up doing a video about like Larian having to respond to what people were saying. That's a separate subject. I don't want to get into that. I'd rather talk about Star Wars, Fate of the Old Republic. I'd rather talk about like why I think this is concerning, the way that these games are being set up. Like the history of Star Wars games coming right now, It's worrying. It's like I feel like Disney is in the room. I feel like they're very much, pushing for things that aren't conducive to game development. They're not conducive to, the way that games come to market, the way that good games come to market, right? I feel like they're really going to push us into a place where just more Star Wars games come out that aren't ready. Thanks for the gifted membership. Just ran through the whole Returnal in 2025 gameplay, and I'm stoked to play in Star Wars when it comes out. Thanks for the content. Hey, I really, really appreciate that, man. A lot of people have watched my Returnal gameplay in 2025 video, and they've decided to pick the game up, and a couple people beat it because they were able to take some of the tips that I gave them in that video. So I'm super close to having every single I'm super close to having every single video. I'm sorry, not every single video. Every single weapon fully upgraded in that game. I have 2 more that are almost at 100%. Having to train AI isn't really that efficient. Oh, that's not off topic. I want to say Mass Effect Trilogy, also a 2-year development cycle for the game. Is it not possible the game has already being developed before the studio was formed officially? If you're talking about Fate of the Old Republic, and Jesse keeps the single gifted train alive and gets us to 117. Thank you so much for doing that. Guys, if you haven't hit the like button yet, do me a favor and hit that like button. We need 15 more likes to get to 100 likes. I have to watch that because I hate Returnal at the moment. It might help you. It might tell you that you don't want to play anymore. Didn't Amy have her Star Wars game? She left the Star Wars game to make the Marvel one. Yeah, that Culture Crave video could be out of date. I don't know. This image could be incorrect. I thought she was working on a Star Wars game. Does she have 2 games right now in the fire or just the one? I actually don't know. We'll have to obviously wait and see. It's funny that we had 2 CGI trailers for KOTOR years apart. Funny but terrible. I was 30 years old when Mass Effect 1 was out. By the time Mass Effect 5 releases, I'll probably be in my late 50s, maybe my early 60s. I'll be too old. You're never too old to game. Come on. Even the KOTOR remake is years away. It's silly to think this brand new announcement will be quick. That's kind of where I land on this, Bumblepants. I'm like, I don't really understand what it is people think. I had some people get really, really angry. If you guys didn't watch my video, I've got a video on the channel right now about this. This is a very quick video basically saying, here we go again. And essentially what I was arguing is that there is no way that you can speak that confidently about a game coming out in 3.5 years when you're in the early stages of development and your studio was just formed this year. That just seems completely and utterly backwards. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen a company do that. Like they walk out and they're like, yeah, we just announced our game. We're in the early stages of development. Yeah, our studio was formed about 4 months ago. Yeah, and our game is definitely coming out in 3.5 years. That, in all the years I've covered games, that's about as anomalous as it gets. Like, that's super anomalous. Like, you're not able to say that with that level of confidence. Again, unless, if my theory is correct, the only way you're able to do that is if you've been told what your release date is. If you've been told, hey, we're Disney. We want that game out by this time. We want that game out by this date. CD Projekt Red just said they want to do 3 Witchers in 6 years. Okay. Track with me on this. That is a very, I would say, loose projection. They're basically saying we want the next trilogy to come out over the span of 6 years. All right. That's also a little bit different because they could lay a ton of groundwork in the first Witcher, which would be Witcher 4. They could lay a ton of groundwork in that game to make sure that the sequels can come out quicker. We know sequels can come out faster. We saw this with Spider-Man and God of War and Horizon. So CD Projekt Red could certainly create a pipeline and a timeline where that's not that unreasonable. That 6 years could also turn into 7 or 8 very easily. Like, that's just like a projection. They're like, yeah, we would really like to have those 3 games out. And Rare Killer comes in with a 10 bomb on YouTube and gets us to 127. Thank you so much We are bouncing back that member count, boys. We in all the years we've had gifting, man, this is a spot we've not been in a long time, but it's a spot to climb. It's always a chance to rebuild and reassert. So thank you so much. There is the one that I owe YouTube. Let's get back up there. We can't unlock emotes anymore. We have all the emotes, but you can't unlock fun things like Frickmas Friday this week. So this being good since the beginning of time, I've been waiting for a few NES games that were announced in the 90s. They would have to use the same engine for all three. Do you think this would diminish quality of the sequel? No, I don't think so, because I think, okay, so basically they're building, The Witcher in Unreal. I think that's a very agile engine that can get updates, throughout its life. There'll be updated versions of the engine that gets improvements and things like that. I also think maintaining your art style is also, important. And if you're staying in that same engine, like Spider-Man 1 to Miles Morales to Spider-Man 2, there's huge jumps in visual fidelity, reflections, and graphics in Spider-Man 2, but it still looks and feels like Spider-Man, and it's still in the Insomniac proprietary engine. Same going from, God of War 2018 to Ragnarok. Ragnarok looks way better than 2018, but there's an art style similarity. There's a quality similarity because it's in the same engine. So I would say the same thing could be true of The Witcher. So with this situation with Fate of the Old Republic, I'm like, listen, I don't see how you could have that level of confidence in your release window unless you've literally got somebody standing over you saying that game is coming out in 3.5 years, whether you like it or not. I think Disney would make development time longer due to having to wait on approvals. You think Disney would make development time longer? Disney came out and said they wanted a new Star Wars game to come out every 6 months. I think they're the reason that Jedi Survivor came out before it was ready. Like, they're actually not known for that. They're not known for like, oh yeah, we want the games to come out slow or slowing things down. They're known for the opposite. They're known for wanting things to come out rather quickly. I think that's the problem, is that they look at gaming, and I talked about this in the show open, they look at gaming as an opportunity to market the brand of Star Wars. They don't see it as an opportunity to build something amazing. Now, the developers and the directors, they're going to try to build something amazing. Don't get me wrong. Well, again, in these conversations, I'm usually talking about the big bad, which is Disney. I'm not talking about Casey Hudson or the studios or any of the talent or any of the vision that they have for these games long term, or their ability to act on an action plan or anything like that. I'm talking about Disney. And I mean, if you look at how they've treated their property just in the term of like TV shows and movies, they don't treat it with any reverence or respect. So I would definitely look at Fate of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic remake, Star Wars Eclipse. I look at all these games and be like, I don't know, man. They were announced super early. Like, I don't think it's an accident that like right before the holidays, a Star Wars game gets announced, because they're thinking like, hey, get the name out there, man. Get us back in the headlines again. We want people talking about Star Wars. I joked about it in the show open. Like, my daughter has so much Baby Yoda paraphernalia. She's never even seen the show. She saw Baby Yoda and it was over. They understand the power of merchandise, Disney especially. I mean, they understand the power of, selling stuff to families and kiddos. Still haven't heard anyone address whether or not the game could have already been being developed before the studio was formed. If that were the case, why would they say in an official interview that it's in the early stages of development? Wouldn't they say the opposite? I mean, I'm asking you a question. Like, you're like, oh, well, it could have been in development. Well, my question to you is, wouldn't they have said that? Wouldn't Casey Hudson have said that when he spoke to this? He'd be like, oh, no, yeah, we didn't just start. We've actually been working on it for quite a while before the studio was formed. Are you here to watch Mando and Grogu? No, because she hasn't seen the show. She'll see all that in good time. It'll all be streamable someday. You know what I mean? So, like, if they had things that were already in development and they already had a bunch of work done, they would have said that. They'd be like, well, we have this new studio and they inherited a lot of work that's already been done that's really going to help to jumpstart the project. The game started before the team. That's a bit of chicken and the egg. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you have much work done before the team is formed. Like, who in their right mind would start working on a Star Wars game before they have, like, the contract and the license and the permission? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know about that. Sorry, how do you work on a game before you have a studio? I feel dumb asking this. As I'm saying it out loud, it does kind of sound absurd. I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what they would be doing and how. Did you talk about... I don't know what you're asking me, Mohammed. I don't know what that is. Whoever works there is definitely going to be putting in a lot of overtime. Fair point. I was just wondering whether that was a possibility. Garrett, there is a theory. Mr. Matty Plays put out this theory that Casey Hudson was working on some other sci-fi project that has been scrapped. And he's thinking they could be bringing over a lot of assets, worlds, and things they've already built to jumpstart this project. I don't actually know if that theory holds a lot of weight. I'm not sure how much you'd be able to use because it's got to be very Star Wars-esque. Number two, again, I feel like if they were doing that, they would have said that. They would have been like, the timeline for this game is going to be a little different because we've actually inherited quite a bit of work from another project that we're able to use to build this game, to speed it up. Now, they might not want to say that because of the perception of like, oh, you're going to recycle a bunch of assets and stuff. But I don't think the public would be upset about that. What? NVENC error device passed to the API is invalid? What just happened? An encoder error occurred. Am I still live on YouTube? NVENC error. Device passed to the API is invalid. NVENC error, invalid device. An encoder error occurred. Yeah, my Twitch stream died. What? The member display is pulled an error. What the heck is that about? I guess YouTube is still going because we were on AV1. Yeah, my stream just ended and it pulled an API NVENC error, and this overlay that I use to like add members and stuff, it crashed. It like blanked out on me. I really wonder if there's something in here that is causing some kind of an issue with NVENC, because like that's the second time we've had some weird thing happen, and it was that it was linked to this. That's really, really bizarre. Yeah, I got the hardware error just now, 1035. Windows, a problem with your hardware caused Windows to stop working correctly. I don't understand at all. I think we're going to have to start streaming on the gaming rig and just see. I don't know what kind of an issue there could be with this machine. I don't get it. It runs fine and forever, and then all of a sudden we start having problems. Anyways, let's get back on topic. Sorry about that, Twitch. Whatever. I have a link to a PC article for you about Star Wars. Can I post that? You can. It'll get blocked, but then I'll be able to see that. Yeah, it's a new PC this year. It's a perfectly good card. There's absolutely zero chance that overlay is interfering with anything. This is the second time we've had an issue, and when we had the issue, that thing crashed. Maybe it's crashing because it's a display error and it has to be displayed. I don't know. Yeah, okay, so this might add some meat to the bones of what we're talking about here, okay? Former BioWare boss Casey Hudson is closing down the studio he launched in 2021 without releasing a single game. Hudson said the studio was forced to shut down because of an unexpected shortfall of funding. Humanoid Origin, the studio launched in 2021 by former BioWare general manager Casey Hudson, is closing. Hudson announced the closure in a message on LinkedIn saying that despite efforts to shield the studio from broader challenges in the industry. An unexpected shortfall of funding left us unable to sustain operation. Hudson's announced Humanoid Studios, as it was originally known, in June of 2021, just 6 months after his surprise departure from BioWare. In 2022, he revealed the studio was working on a multi-platform AAA game focused on character-driven narrative and all-new science fiction universe, which sounded like a natural fit. During his long tenure at BioWare, broken up by a 3-year split from 2014 to 2017, Hudson led the development of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic in the original Mass Effect trilogy. But while Hudson said the studio had a playable prototype in July of 2022, nothing beyond a few pieces of vague concept art was ever shown publicly. Hudson said the studio is heartbroken that we will not be able to bring our new science fiction universe to completion, adding that the focus now is on supporting employees in their transitions to new employee. Okay, so here's the thing. So in June of 2021, he announces that this place is opening, okay? And then in one year later, they had a playable prototype, and then they closed down, okay? So if this is essentially Maddie's theory that this is the game that they were able to then like repurpose, you know, elements of the game for, you know, they were able to repurpose elements of the game for this game. They were only a year on it, and they had a playable prototype. I don't know how much that would jumpstart this project. I really don't. All of those assets would have to be potentially repurposed, changed, adjusted, made to look like Star Wars, what have you. So again, I find it very hard to believe that you're announcing, you're announcing your game, you're in the early stages of development, and you're like, oh, but, you know, 3 years ago, I had a studio closed down, I had a working prototype at that time, and we're going to be able to use that to jumpstart this project. Again, maybe that could help. Maybe that could, you know, make things go faster and make things come to the market quicker. But I just don't know. I just don't know. Hopefully his old project was already off-brand Star Wars. Right. Yeah, and a 5 bomb comes in from Clevelando and gets us to 132. We're a 20 bomb away from 150. Whoever hits it gets it. Twitch, you guys could bounce back here and try to make the competition interesting. We're going to do a Frickmas Friday this week. We'll do one next week as well, and we'll have some stretch goals and other things that you guys can unlock if we're able to hit the goal. And thank you to everybody who has helped with that today. I would help a little. It would help a little, but it wouldn't jumpstart that much. Isn't that kind of how Overwatch got its start? He was making Rebel Moon, right? I mean, I'm not going to say that it wouldn't help at all, okay? But I don't know if it would have helped to the degree that you could be like, oh no, yeah, our game is totally coming out in 3.5 years. You know, the timeline just seems bonkers to me. It seems absolutely bonkers to me that you would be able to announce a game, you just formed your studio, and you're like, yeah, the spiritual sequel to KOTOR, it's coming out in 3.5 years. Depending on what the studio is doing and how much he has, they could be using stuff from that studio. That's the current theory. Why do you think Star Wars Eclipse is taking so long? Didn't they run into trouble and like halted production? I feel like something happened with Star Wars Eclipse production. I feel like there was something that happened where despite little official news since 2021 announcement, it's rumored to face delays, potentially aiming at a 2026 or a 2027 release. The game is leveraging Quantic Dream's signature narrative style, but aiming for more freedom through its development, and it's been impacted by workplace controversy surrounding the studio and its founders. Yeah, I think there was they came out this year and said that, you know, it was still in development because they announced a new multiplayer title, and people were like, yeah, but what about Eclipse? And so they came out and said, oh no, it's still in development. It was like, what, October? In a recent blog post, What do they say? Of course, yeah, I mean, so this is their blog post update. Here, let me get it nice and big for you. Okay. So Quantic Dream is like, yep, writing a shoot chapter, blah, 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 blah. Here's all the stuff. And you get this. Of course, development of Star Wars Eclipse continues, and we are eager to share more with you in the future. Now, I don't know about you, but again, this is kind of what we're talking about here. You know, what is this? What? No. What is my wife thinking? She must be joking around. Hang on. Let me go in here and do this. Okay. Forgot about Eclipse, holy cow. Right. I mean, it was announced 4 years ago. And their confirmation that it's still in development, I don't know about y'all, but that looked like super weak. They probably already have the writing done. Isn't Eclipse like a story-based game like The Quarry? Oh, I don't know if it's that kind of game with like decisions and choices and stuff like that. They probably already have the writing done. A new FIFA game has been officially announced. Oh man, sign me up. The Quantic managers were sued, so there's that. Yeah, they had some controversy at the studio, and they had issues with that. My understanding is that Eclipse was announced before they had even entered full production. You mean like Fate of the Old Republic? Fate of the Old Republic's not in full production either. When you say that you're in the early stages of development, that's not full production. You would say we just entered full production, or you know, we've entered full production this year, or we're entering full production next month, or something like that. You don't say we're in the early stages of development. Like Fate of the Old Republic isn't in full production either. I'm telling you, this has Disney written all over it. This is just a bunch of Disney smoke. They announce super early. They know people get excited, and it gets everybody talking about Star Wars. It's really good for them. It's really good for their brand. It probably gets people to sign up for Disney Plus because they want to go watch, you know, the Star Wars movies or Mando or whatever at Christmas time. I mean, hey, it's Christmas time. It'll remind them to go buy Christmas presents, and they'll buy Star Wars stuff. They'll buy a Lego Star Wars set or a Star Wars toy. The classic Disney brain fart. They're in the later stages. They're in the later stages of early pre-production. The game's never going to come out. I'm not saying these games are never going to come out. I'm certainly not saying that. But I don't know. And I really don't. There's a part of me that thinks the games are, you know, they're coming, they're on pace or on schedule or whatever the heck, but I don't necessarily think my concern. Yeah, I don't think my concern is necessarily that the games will or won't come out. It's a state that they'll come out in, right? That to me is a larger concern. That's always the larger concern, is the state that the games come out in. Disney and Xbox share marketing strategies. Well, it to me, I would say there's some analogous, you know, relationship here. You know, you have Microsoft and you have Disney. These are big companies that see gaming in a different way than gamers do, right? And so Microsoft very much views gaming in a particular way. Satya Nadella especially. Satya Nadella views gaming in a particular way that has really changed the DNA of that company, of Xbox. And Disney, I think Disney, in a similar way but different, I think they view Star Wars in a way of like, we can leverage Star Wars in gaming to keep us relevant and to keep people talking about us. I still believe that's why Stig left. I think that's why he left Respawn. I think Disney came back and said, we would like that third Jedi game to come out in whatever, let's just say 3 or 4 years. And he's probably thinking, I don't want to do this again. This is absurd. When did Jedi Fallen Order come out? So Jedi Fallen Order came out in 2019. Okay. So Jedi Survivor came out in 2023. So you had a 4-year dev cycle. Now track with me here. You had a 4-year dev cycle for a game that didn't come, when it came out, it wasn't ready. Okay? So just think about that. If it took them 4 years to build Jedi Survivor, and when it came out, it wasn't ready, that means they needed more than 4 years. It stands to reason if Disney comes back to him and says, yeah, we want Jedi 3 in 4 years. We want it to come out in, 2027. And he says, no, that's not reasonable. 4 years wasn't enough time. And if you want the third game to be bigger and better and more exciting, and you want to leverage new tech, or you want to, leverage better graphics or what have you, no, that's not enough time. And he probably walked. Now, we're supposed to believe that a sequel, Jedi Fallen Order to Survivor, a sequel took 4 years and wasn't enough time. They had to spend months patching it, and it's still in terrible shape on Steam, right? Let's go Jedi Survivor Steam. All right. Jedi Survivor on Steam. This is the state of the game on Steam right here. So overall, a 68%. Now, recently it's done better, 75%. That's not terrible in the last 30 days. So they must have done enough work to give it a passing grade here, okay? So, if 4 years was not enough time for a sequel, we're supposed to believe that 3.5 years is enough time for a brand new game. It's not a sequel. It's not building on an existing game. Characters, worlds, animations, none of that. So Jedi Survivor in 4 years wasn't ready, but we're supposed to believe that Fate of the Old Republic can come out in 3.5 years and be ready. Do you see why? I think, I had somebody leave a comment. They're like, you have no idea, you're not a developer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to be a developer to look at patterns. And I felt like this is a huge break from pattern here. The pattern is not games coming out in 3.5 year dev cycles are amazing. It's usually, if a game comes out faster than 5 years, there's usually some issues that you usually have to worry about some things, unless it's a sequel. Sequels certainly can come out a lot quicker. People probably bought it on sale. That softens people's opinions. That's possible. I've been playing Quantum Dream games since Heavy Rain on the PS3, and this is the longest they have taken to make a game without any real updates. I'm more concerned about Eclipse than any other Star Wars game. I think that's totally valid. Where's 3.5 coming for? Is that what they said in the interview? No, I'm just doing math, Rogue. So they started the studio in the middle of this year. And the director said the game will be out before 2030. That means 2029 is like the very longest they could take then, according to what he said. So if you add up all of 2026, all of 2027, and all of 2028, you've got 3 years. You've got basically a little bit of this year, and then you could say, maybe half of that year of 2029, right? So roughly 3.5 to 4 years. Because once you're in the year that you're launching, the game is basically done. You're doing quality assurance work. You're doing debugging. You're fixing things. You're getting ready to go gold. So they have roughly 3.5, maybe 4 years to build this game. And I'm like, that seems like such a short window. How could you possibly have that level of confidence about it? That's why I keep coming back to Disney in the equation. They're the reason that you would say confidently, we're not going to take that long. So probably 2029 with a crappy launch or multiple delays. Precisely. You aren't wrong. That's the sad part. I hope this isn't what they are doing. What did Mikey say? AI is a heck of a tool these days. Hopefully not with the Old Republic, but you never know. I don't even know if you could leverage the current tools to get a game out that quickly, though. I just don't think so. Release it in 2029, fix it in 2030. End of 2029 is 4 years from now. Yeah, the end of 2029 is 4 years from now, which to me, that's what I'm saying. That's roughly 3.5 years, because about halfway through 2029, the game better be done, because at that point, you're not working on like the game, the story, the mocap, the building, the script writing, none of that. You're not doing any of that. You're at that point, you're doing quality assurance. You know, you're doing like updates and debugging and stuff. You're not building the game anymore at that point. You're in the final. This is why when they delay games by like a month or two, we usually say that's not enough time to fundamentally change the game. They're probably just like tightening bolts, you know, and doing some fixes. When was the last time there was an actual good Star Wars game? 30 years? What do you mean? Jedi Fallen Order is fantastic, and so is Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor launched with problems like bugs and glitches. It was actually a very good game. Story was amazing. The way they elevated the combat and the skill trees was awesome. It's fantastic Star Wars. Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor are really, really good Star Wars games. Love your content. Thank you, 8-Bit Pro, for the $2 super chat tip. I appreciate it. You guys can use the tip command. Zubair did that this morning. He was very generous and kind. I want to thank him again publicly for that. You know, it was like in morning coffee or what have you. He said Merry Christmas. I appreciated that. If you guys want to do it that way, that is a great way to support. If you're like, man, I can't right now, you know, if you're tightening up because of the holidays, hit that like button and be here as often as you can. That supports me and helps me do this. Survivor was excellent. I played on console. Can't speak to the PC issues. Yeah, wasn't Battlefront 2 super praised and popular? I thought people liked it. It was terrible at launch. Yeah, I feel like it's really turned the corner, though. I thought people were really pleased with, you know, how the game ended up shaping up over the years. Fallen Order was cool. I'm talking 90 on meta. Wait, so I'm sorry. Did you play the games, or are you saying? I'm confused about what exactly your position is. You're like, there's not been any good Star Wars games, and you're basing that off of Metacritic? Like, Metacritic is certainly a barometer. I mean, Survivor got an 85, and Fallen Order got a 79. I'm actually kind of surprised Fallen Order got a 79. I felt like it was a very good game. On a more personal note, I hate how it's acceptable for games to get released unpolished. Not even us as players expect it to happen. I'm going to push back on what you're saying, and I don't agree with you. I don't think it's acceptable for games to release unpolished now. I think it really, really hurts a game, because there are so many games that come out, and there's a resurgence of AA games and indie games that come out and are at excellent quality. If you come out and your game's in bad condition, it really hurts you. It does. I guarantee you that Jedi Survivor didn't sell well on Steam. You can look at the review numbers and see it didn't do well commercially over there because it had such terrible performance. I don't think it's acceptable. I think people are kind of over it. If you drop $80 on a game and it's in bad shape, I think that really burns a bridge with that consumer. Cyberpunk ring a bell? Yeah, I mean, CD Projekt Red got sued by their shareholders because their stock value dropped so much because of Cyberpunk. I don't know if you could argue it's quote-unquote acceptable for a game to launch and it's unpolished. I feel like these games get taken to the cleaners for that now. I feel like, and again, I could be wrong. This is just my perspective. My perspective is game companies and developers, they get taken to the cleaners a lot more than they used to when they release a game that's just not ready. It feels a lot more extreme than in the past. I don't know if people are fed up. I don't know if people have like a level of fatigue or irritation with it, or it could again just be there's just a monsoon of games. You can easily put down some crappy buggy game or skip a crappy buggy game and play something else, buy something else. I mean, go to your backlog, go play a free-to-play game like Where Winds Meet. I mean, there are so many games coming out. I don't know if it's acceptable. I don't know if it ever really was, but agree on something. I also thought Fallen Order and Survivor were really good games. Yeah, we agree on that. I thought they were great. I still think that Trilla is the best character in Fallen Order. I think she's one of the best villains in the history of Star Wars that hasn't been used properly. I thought they could have done an amazing spin-off with her and they could have been like a Miles Morales, like a $40 game, where like you play through like a shorter game where she rises to power and gets stronger in the dark side, and she's got a different fighting style and a different lightsaber. They could have made such an excellent game with her. I actually kind of hope she's still alive. I hope they pull a Darth Maul and she's still around, because I thought she was excellent. I thought the writing and the voice acting was just fabulous, and I thought her ending scene is like one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. I think that's like one of my favorite scenes. Like, it's just excellently done. It's perfectly crafted. That would make for an excellent TV show. They stole that entire exchange from the end of Fallen Order and they put it in the Obi-Wan TV show. It's almost identical. It's frustrating to a certain extent. It's like a similar base. I think it is the same base, and they leave through the water tunnels, and the crack in the tube is how they get out. Like the water floods, that's how they get out. Like literally the same thing happens at the end of Fallen Order. Fallen Order had technical issues. FPS and frame-by-frame animations of the enemies were faulty. Really? You just thought she was hot? I mean, she kind of had that like, she was kind of had like the crazy hot chick thing going on, but that's not why I liked her. I thought she was awesome. She just, her dialogue, her delivery, the writing that they gave her, I just thought she was awesome. She would have made for a great protagonist in her own game. Like playing as her, going over to the dark side, I think would have been really, really fun. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet on YouTube, do me a favor. Take a quick second and do that. We're almost down the first hour of the show. We're going to start pulling up these videos and reacting to them. Early access is a whole different animal. You walk in expecting placeholder art and awful balance. Oh, for sure. Unpolished games are more acceptable when they're early access. Yeah, I think that's a different environment. You know what you're signing up for. That's like a full disclosure sort of thing. There, you know you're signing up for something that's not ready yet. That's not polished. It's not finished. That's not, going to market. That's literally why you're buying it. You're buying it to take part in that aspect. Let's see if we've got some comments on my upload here. We uploaded a video last night saying here we go again. If you guys want to go and give it a watch and give it a like and give it a comment, I'll put a link in chat. It's only 4 minutes. And it really, really helps. We do a lot more than live streaming here, and when you guys support those uploads, it means a lot. There's a link in chat. If you guys leave a comment, I get featured in the live show. Let's take a look at what people are saying here. Let's sort by newest. And then somebody just this morning said, it's not that deep. He only mentioned it's not 2030 because Jason Schreier said it's 2030. It's called getting ahead of the news. Everybody was salty that Jason said it's 2030, so getting out fast and saying it's not was the smart thing to do. Has nothing to do with Disney. And I was like, smart why? How does he know it'll be out before 2030? How many games predict their release window 4 years in advance? And this guy says, seriously, do you know nothing about marketing or business? He's not going to come out and say, yeah, 2030 is correct or even later. That's bad press. That's false. Plenty of games do this. Plenty of games say, we'll let you know when the game's ready. Or they'll say, yeah, it's probably going to be X number of years before the game comes out. Like, it's not unusual to cast a longer vision for release timing, right? He can easily say it's before 2030, and then years from now, they delay it and they deal with it then. And so this person's arguing that that's smart. I would argue that's not smart. I think people are getting tired of that. I think people would have rather him being like, you know what, we'll let you know when we have a release date, and just left it at that. It's common sense. He's not predicting anything. He's putting out a fire caused by a random guess from Jason. It's not hard to see any of this. I don't think it was a random guess from Jason. It was basic calculation based on years of market trends. Like, I don't think Jason Schreier made a random guess. I disagree with this person. It was a very basic calculation. That's the problem with saying, like, oh no, responding to this was smart. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Anybody that's been paying attention to gaming would be like, now wait a minute. Like, I don't understand. The pattern here with games is they don't come out this fast. That's the pattern. That's what we're accustomed to. And so you're coming out and you're saying, oh no, yeah, we're gonna break from that pattern that's been in place now for years. Our game's gonna come out faster than virtually any other game lately. It just doesn't stand to reason. Like, Jason Schreier's wasn't making a random guess or throwing a dart in a dark room, like with the blindfold on. It was like, okay, based on years of market analysis and how long games take to come to market, this thing just entered early production. It's in its early stages of development. The studio just formed this year. Yeah, this probably optimistically is coming out like 2030. And here's the thing. That's not the first time that's happened. Right? That's not the first time that's happened. Like, this isn't like Jason Schreier put out a hit piece on Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic and said, yeah, not coming out till 2030. This is a common thing. A game gets announced. They give you an announcement trailer that doesn't show much. You find out that it just entered production or they just started working on it. And the average industry analysis is that, yeah, it'll probably be out in 5 years at best. Nobody gets mad or upset or freaks out, and developers aren't like, oh, we better respond, we better have an answer. It's like, no, I think that's a common prediction that people make. If you announce a game at any of these things, and all you have is a cinematic trailer and no release date, and then you do an interview or a press release of sorts, and you basically say, yeah, we just entered production. Like when they did that with The Witcher, and they were looking to hire people. Anybody that looked at that said the same thing. Like, yeah, it's probably not coming out for 5 years or more. That's not bad news. That's not bad press. That's not bad news. That's not a hit piece. That's just a very, very basic prediction. That's a standard thing. So, I don't think that that there needed to be a response. I personally don't agree with that. So. All right, so we'll have these links in the description. I want to show you guys a couple of videos now about this topic that I want to kind of react to with you guys. And let's see. This is the first one. And this one comes from a creator called Bombastic. And it says, addressing the Star Wars RPG situation. And so... support the original creator. It'll be linked below. We'll use timestamps as well. I'll give you guys my thoughts on this video. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, you're hitting the like button. And make sure you're checking your primes and your renewals. And you can help us with the... here, I'll put the member count back up so you guys kind of see where we are. All right, here we go.
I've got a lot to say about the new Star Wars RPG game, Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, and I think a lot of people are feeling what I'm about to say. A lot of people are seriously concerned about this game for a number of reasons, which I think are all totally fair and justified. And don't get me wrong, this game sounds great. A spiritual successor to Knights of the Old Republic, a KOTOR sequel essentially, made by the same game director who made the original. What more could you ask for? But my concerns lie with the timeline of production for this game. For a tweet just made made by the game director, which I really hope comes true. And with the recent history of cancelled Star Wars projects, movies, TV shows, games, if you saw my video last week about how Disney's plans for Star Wars drastically changed over the past 5 years, you'll remember that in 2020, Disney announced 12 new Star Wars projects, and of those 12 projects, 5 of them got cancelled. And
okay, so here's the thing. He's barking up the same tree that I'm barking up. You cannot ignore Disney in this equation. They are 100% a production line mentality, and they look at Star Wars. They said, we want a new Star Wars game every 6 months. You look at what happened with all those shows and all those cancellations, and this is where my concern comes from. This is not like fear-mongering. This is simple calculation. It's like, yeah, I don't know about this company, y'all. I think the way they treat Star Wars, it gives me a ton of pause, and I don't think video games are going to be spared from their approach and how they think about things. I really don't.
These don't even include the cancelled games. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Like a lot of you and a lot of what I've been seeing online, my main concerns for fotor, as we're now calling it, and for other recent Star Wars game announcements for that matter, is why they announce a game like this so many years ahead of it actually releasing. It leaves so much to chance. There's so much risk here of the game eventually not being made, of getting cancelled. Especially when we know they only started developing this game 4 or 5 months ago. Arcanaut Studios, which is the new studio set up to develop this game, was only founded in July 2025, meaning that pretty much everything we're seeing in this trailer isn't even real yet. Some of this might not even be in the game. Yes, we do know that the game director Casey Hudson was working on another sci-fi game at another studio before he founded Arcanaut, so perhaps some assets and ideas are being brought over from that to this project. But based on what we know from an outside perspective, they literally only just started. The game director Casey Hudson posted a tweet in response to this, because I'm sure he'd seen the response to this. He'd probably seen that the memes have already started. Oh great, Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic is going to be releasing in 2040 on the PlayStation 11. His tweet reads, "Don't worry about the not till 2030 rumors. Game will be out before then. I'm not getting any younger."
Yeah, so this tweet is literally what made me concerned. Like, I was not initially concerned, and the reason I wasn't concerned is, hey, that's exciting. We know that while we're waiting for Fate of the Old Republic, we're going to be getting a Jedi 3. We're going to be getting KOTOR remake. We got confirmation from that recent lawsuit that Stephen Totillo covered that KOTOR 1 and 2 remakes are still on pace. Eclipse was confirmed to still be in production a couple of months ago, Star Wars Eclipse. And then we got that Star Wars Racer. It's like, yeah, Star Wars fans will have plenty of games coming out to play while we wait for Fate of the Old Republic. And then this tweet landed, and my entire feeling about this changed. I was like, this smells like, reeks of just, it's Disney. I smell Disney all over this. It's like, why on earth would you say this unless, and this really reminds me of the interview with Stig about Jedi Survivor, where he said, oh, we could have taken more time, but we didn't. Like, almost shielding Disney from any blame, being like, oh, that was our choice. We made that call. This, again, feels like hey, you better get out there and say something. We do not want this in the headlines. We don't want people talking about a game we just announced, having its excitement deflated that quickly that, like, well, yeah, it's not going to be out for 5 years. What this also reeks of, and the reason this makes me think of Disney is dumb enough to think that the gaming public doesn't know the pattern of development. Like we don't know that, like, the average game takes 5 years to make. So they're like, no, get out in front of this and say that's not going to happen. This game's slated for 2029, right? We don't want people to. It's like, but the average person could literally do this calculation without Jason Schreier from Bloomberg. This feels like completely disconnected from reality. Like, corporate overlord said, hey, we want to make sure that that nobody thinks that. It's like, but anybody with a brain already thought this. It was like, wait, you guys just opened this year? Yeah, that's 5 years away minimum. Like, no, you see what I'm saying? This doesn't sound like a seasoned game director. This sounds like Disney, and that's why.
2030 rumors, game will be out before then. I'm not getting any younger. I feel like multiple times over the past few years, someone has said something like this and it's just aged so poorly. The project is shut down, things have changed, and it's never seen the light of day. I really hope that's not the case here. But he's saying don't worry about the not till 2030 rumors. So what? That means the game's probably going to release in December 2029, which I think is a realistic timeline for an RPG game like this. I mean, come on, this game is 5 years away. Surely. I mean, these kinds of games are hard to make. I hope they take 5 years to make a game like this. But that's where the problem is. This game is, say, all right, 4 years away. Why?
I'm actually really glad that more and more people are saying this stuff like out loud with that he's got a huge channel. I hope more and more commentators start to draw attention to this and set the stage and set the expectation. Games take a long time. You want a good game? You want a good RPG? You gotta be willing to wait. You know, you gotta be willing to wait. The dilemma is that they have to announce these games early a lot of the times so they can start to procure talent and grow the studio, get funding, and get more people to come work for them. That's the big dilemma, is a lot of the times these announcements get made and it's like it's for us, but it's also kind of not for us. So you have to be willing to see that. Oh yeah, they announce these games super early. One of the reasons they announce these games super early is, you know, because they got to get people to come work for them. Maybe they're trying to get funding. Maybe they're trying to get investment. And so it's not for us that much. And so that's another reason you kind of have to be patient. What's good, Captain Steve? Another Star Wars Eclipse. That's the concern and worry. Is it's just another game that's just going to get lost in the fray of, you know, no timelines, no release windows, and then it either never comes out or takes way longer than the current proposed like 4-year development cycle that he's claiming.
Is to make a game like this. But that's where the problem is. This game is, say, all right, 4 years away. Why are you telling me about it now? There are a number of reasons for potentially why, which I'm going to get into in a bit. But you know what I would love? You know what I would absolutely love? For them to shadow drop a game. Go full Apex Legends. Just be like, hey, guys, we've been working on a game for the past few years. It releases tomorrow. You know,
the reason you're never going to see this with Star Wars, okay, because I agree with him. I like hearing about a game when it's less than 18 months away, right? As soon as you get beyond 18 months and you're talking 2 years or more, I'm kind of annoyed. But you're never going to see a shadow drop Star Wars game. Disney knows the power of the brand. Like having a trailer on their YouTube channel with almost 2.5 million views, like that's how many times Fate of the Old Republic has been viewed on their own YouTube channel. They know the power of that. They will absolutely milk that for brand awareness, top of mind marketing, as well as just ad revenue, right? Because you're making money from people watching your content. Like there's a lot to be said for that. That's why they'll probably never ever shadow drop a Star Wars game. I don't disagree with him. I would love that, but I highly doubt they're ever going to do that.
How exciting and awesome that would be. The only exception for something like this, I think, would be a game like Battlefront 3, where we'd want to know ahead of time that they're making it so that they've actually listened to the community. They've listened to the feedback that we want a large-scale multiplayer title like that. But when you have already 5 or 6 other Star Wars games in development, not releasing anytime soon, maybe just keep things under wraps for now. I mean, we already have the Knights of the Old Republic remake, Star Wars Eclipse, Amy Hennig's action-adventure Skydance new media game, and a few others that have been announced that are still nowhere near being released from what we know. These games are likely still years away, and it's been years since we've heard anything about them. The Knights of the Old Republic remake was announced in 2021, so was Star Wars Eclipse. The Star Wars Eclipse trailer has something like 22 million views.
Do you see? Do you see why they will never shadow drop a game and they're just going to keep doing this? If these games never see the light of day, you know what Disney says? They don't freaking care. The name Star Wars, the brand of Star Wars, was pushed, seen, watched, engaged with 22 million times over the last 3 years on one 3-minute video. You see? Like, this is why they will keep doing this. They will keep announcing games well far out in advance, and they don't care if the game sees the light of day. They don't care if the game sees the light of day and is in bad shape. Look at the power of this brand. This is the power that the brand has. That's why you'll never have short marketing windows for their games, because the trailers are worth weight and money for them. Like, even if the game never comes out, this trailer helped the Star Wars brand. It helped Disney. So,
one of the most viewed Star Wars gaming trailers of all time. And basically the only thing we've heard about the game in the past 4 or 5 years is that, oh yeah, they're still making it. Great. That's really good. I'm really excited about it. I just hope it actually makes it. I hope all of these games make it. We know what the Knights of the Old Republic remake went through. First, Aspire Media were developing it, then it's gone to Saber Interactive, it's moved around, there's been development issues, struggles, and anywhere along this process, this game could have been cancelled. Why set the expectation and build the hype 5 years ahead of releasing a game and then risk it being cancelled? Why not just tell us a year ahead, or when, yes, it's a certain thing that this game is going to release? And I just really got to say, I'm not trying to complain here at all. More Star Wars games is a good thing regardless of when they're releasing, but I just feel in the last 10 or so years we have been burned too many times. Cancellations going way back, like Star Wars 1313, the closure of EA's Visceral Games, and the cancellation of Project Ragtag, which was another action-adventure Star Wars game. Cancelled Mandalorian game that was being developed at Respawn. And then when you group that with the cancelled TV series like Rangers of the New Republic, like the Lando series, and also movies like Rogue Squadron, which was supposed to be the next Star Wars film released in 2023. And they're like, oh yeah, that's not happening. How rude. When you put all these things together, we just...
Yeah, I think this is it. Like, this gets to the issue of it, is it's like, this is their philosophical approach to the Star Wars brand. I think video games to them are just another piece of a big, huge puzzle, right? Even though he's a Star Wars fan, he can see all the BS Disney's doing. Right, well, and as a Star Wars fan, I see the wreckage of what they've done, right? I see the wreckage. I see the shows. I see the content. I see the discontinuity and the mistakes that they've made with characters, and elements of the shows and things that really hurt things. But then you have excellent shows and really amazing things, like Rogue One and Andor. So, and then you have Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. But Jedi Survivor, I think, got hit with the stink of this strategy. Let's just push stuff out. Let's just get stuff out there. Like, this again is what I'm getting at. It's so much bigger than just but they announced it so they could get people to come in and work for the company. No, this is all, I think, ripple effects from the Disney philosophy and how they handle their property and how they handle what they've got. Because they view Star Wars, and it's hard not for them to view Star Wars in that way. It's a Leviathan in the market. It's so big and so popular. So
I don't think have too much trust that anything that gets announced that's going to be like 5 or so years ahead will actually be released. It's too risky. But there are a number of reasons why they announce a game so early and develop an epic looking cinematic trailer to build hype around a game. The first reason, and I know they did this with Star Wars Eclipse, is to attract developers to the studio to actually come and make the game. Basically, this trailer is like a show reel for what the game could be, and for the studio to essentially advertise production of the game. Second reason, I believe in this case, is also to attract a producer. So I'm pretty sure that unless Lucasfilm Games are publishing Fate of the Old Republic on their own, this game doesn't have an official producer yet. Arcanaut Studios are just the developer, and from what I know about them, they're completely independent. So they're not tied to any of the larger publishers like EA, like Ubisoft, like Epic Games.
Yeah, so they're probably shopping for publishing and funding right now, which again, Disney... Remarkably, I don't know why Disney doesn't just foot the bill.
They're just doing this on their own in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. So part of the reason for making a trailer like this to build hype around a project where all of this, at the end of the day, is honestly just about money. They're trying to attract a publisher to the game to potentially even bring in funding to help them fund the project and actually get it over the line. This
adds an entire element of like, how on earth could you say with confidence, oh, the game will be out before 2030? You don't even have like a funding relationship set up, which means you don't have the staff and the bandwidth, the pipelines, the teams, none of that yet. You just started. Like, do you see why it's crazy to say what he said? It's crazy. Again, if Disney's like, sure, you can make a game. Here's the deadline. Here's when we want it out. We're going to let you make a game. You're going to make this game. Yeah, that's fine. This is when we want it to hit the market. You need to agree to this. You don't even have like formal funding or publishing or investment dollars set up yet. You don't have, again, and you put a trailer out like this and you're trying to grow your team, you're trying to hire people. That's great. If you don't have that yet, how could you possibly even have a timeline at all? How?
Speculation. I'm not sure this is the case. Maybe they do have the money to make this game. Now, I don't think this will happen, but let's say, just for example, EA signs on as the publisher of this game. Suddenly, EA has another game in their portfolio to help influence shareholders. Having a game like this in their portfolio, in their roster of upcoming games, allows them to talk about it years ahead at their shareholder meetings and potentially sway stock prices. Welcome to Bombastic Finance videos. But essentially, announcing and building hype around this game so many years ahead of time allows them to potentially publicly mention it over the next few years, which can influence things like shareholders and stock prices. Now, as much as I'd like to see Fate of the Old Republic release as soon as possible, there is one other thing I want to stress, and that is please don't rush this. I'm making the argument that I wish they didn't announce games so early with the risk of us all being disappointed, us getting hyped and then the game being cancelled. But at the same time, I want them to take as much time as they need to make the best game they possibly can. The flip side of this whole situation is that now they've announced this game so early, there's pressure to get it out sometime in the next few years because people are expecting it. But seriously, especially...
Well, and the bigger pressure you have to worry about is Disney. Again, the public has gotten to the point where, yes, they'll be angry, but I feel like, maybe not everybody, I feel like the majority of the people now are just like, dude, take your time. We're sick of games coming out before they're ready. You know, like the public pressure is certainly there, but I mean, I don't know. If you look at, the delays of games recently, it's just so common now. I don't think it's necessarily as damaging as it once was. I think what's more damaging is pushing the game out before it's ready. You have terrible PR, people wanting refunds, and people not buying. I think that's obviously far more risky, given especially what happened with Cyberpunk.
When it comes to a large-scale Star Wars RPG like this that needs a certain level of depth, that needs care and love and time and innovation, the worst thing they could possibly do here is rush this project. Is try and get it out earlier than it should be. We've all seen what's happened when this has happened with previous games in the past. Cyberpunk, for example, huge problems at launch, and now is one of the best, most respected games potentially of all time. But the fact they're literally saying this is a spiritual successor to Knights of the Old Republic is setting the bar so high. Some people put KOTOR as the greatest video game ever made. And so when you're saying you're essentially making a sequel to that and connecting the dots to one of the greatest video games made of all time, I think you really need to live up to the hype. You really need to live up to the expectation. And the worst thing they could do is rush this. So please, Casey, I know you tweeted, don't worry about the not till 2030 rumors, mate. If you need until 2030, just take the time. Because
I completely agree. I completely agree. But he might not have the luxury. He might not have that luxury. He might not be able to wait that long. So, guys, real quick, make sure you're hitting the like button if you're enjoying this. We got a couple more things to kind of react to and watch that are about this topic in general. And I appreciate you guys being here. This one might be enough, though. This kind of encapsulates everything.
Over the next few years, we've hopefully got a bunch of other Star Wars games to look forward to that need to release before this. Like the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which hopefully releases before this. Like Star Wars Eclipse, as well as all the other Star Wars games that are set to release over the next few years, which I talked about in this video here. You can watch that after this one. Also, come follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, TikTok. Subscribe, and thanks for watching this. Always remember,
stay bombastic.
Yeah, stay bombastic, guys.
Oops,
that started over. Stay bombastic, y'all. And if you guys want to support the original content, I will put a link in chat right now. I will also supply a link below in the description. Always remember to support the original creators if we react to anything. I try to react to either creators that are way bigger than me or creators that videos are old. That's a 2-day-old video. I try to do that so that their video doesn't have any chance of losing momentum or clicks from me, letting you guys watch it. I never want to be the cause for that. So I'm going to throw this in the chat for you guys. If you're wanting to check that out, throw it a like, throw it a comment. Appreciate you guys so much. If If there's anybody who hasn't hit the like button, we really need to get to 200 likes on the video. Appreciate you guys so much tuning in every single day. At least hate with accuracy. Oh, that's something about that other game. Sorry, I was reading something in the Discord. Gave him a sub. Thank you. The people that bought out EA will probably try to buy Star Wars. I'm saying it now. Oh, like try to buy Star Wars from Disney? Yeah, I don't know. My dream is a Star Wars game from Capcom. I already saw to that guy. Insightful content about Star Wars. Yeah, I watched it this morning, and I was like genuinely glad to have somebody else kind of saying what I was saying. I was like, I can't be the only one. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mind here with this topic. It's like I'm the only one that sees this. It's like, all right, okie dokie. So, yeah. So we've got a lot of Star Wars games coming, and I'm just kind of generally concerned about how they've kind of been sandwiched in there and how they've been promoted. Let's go in here. I'm gonna do this bombastic video. I'm gonna put it in there now while I'm thinking about it. Okay. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I want to change that. I sometimes forget to edit that body of text on the live stream. And yeah, here we go. Reference articles. Save. There we go. Disney isn't selling Star Wars, it's all over the theme park. Yeah, I mean that's probably true. I don't think they would want to sell it either. That'd be kind of odd. I think that'd be kind of odd. I'll be dead before we get a Bloodborne remake. Stares off and to the middle distance. Team Ninja Star Wars game would be awesome. I mean, we've got plenty of studios that could make great Star Wars games. The issue is always going to be the mouse. That's always going to be the issue every single time. You know, that's where you're going to struggle the most, I think. So. In Control Resonant. He plays the. Oh, so they're doing official pushes for that now. Oh, you can wishlist Control Resonant. Nice. Also, make sure you guys are checking. Check your primes. Check your resubs. Those count. And check the likes as well. I had some other videos, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of repeat. We've already said quite a bit about the stuff that the one guy was talking about. He had a video about like everything we know, right? It's like a 12-minute video. We kind of already covered that during the show open. You guys brought a lot of good information to the table. And then Generation Tech is more about the movies and the TV shows. It's also 20 minutes. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I want like a 40-minute segment, because a 20-minute video that I react to is going to be double in size usually. I don't want a 40-minute segment necessarily about TV shows and movies. That can kind of confuse when they're trying to analyze this video and put it in front of folks. That can be confusing because we're not a TV or movie channel. So what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. KOTOR was a single-player game. Knights and Fate. The Old Republic is not. The Old Republic is an MMO. Yeah. Fate of the Old Republic is the spiritual sequel, spiritual successor to KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, which is a single-player RPG. The Old Republic is an MMO, yeah, that was like really popular that lots of people played. I think that was the one I tried to play back in the day, and I had all kinds of like performance issues. My PC was like super old and like sound didn't work and stuff. Last message from Wolf Saints. The closest thing you'll probably get to a shadow drop for a Star Wars game is they announce it. They say pre-orders go live right now. Yeah, I just think there's too much marketing power. Yo, it's good, Mike and the Mike. There's just too much marketing power for Star Wars. It would be really, really odd for them to be able to shadow drop something. Yeah. I still see that we never got KOTOR 3. I still can't talk about it. That's kind of what Fate's supposed to be, though. It's supposed to be almost like a KOTOR 3, but it also kind of isn't as well. And that's mainly because of Disney and how they handle Star Wars. For sure. And I don't want to get into a discussion about the TV shows with you guys because I think that's a huge distraction. And again, they kind of slate videos now according to what you're talking about. So I don't want to talk about TV shows and the movies with you. But I definitely think you can see that pattern there. And I love that his video did that. It's like, look at all the things they announced. Look at all the things that are canceled, and then look at how the quality is just all over the place. There's just no consistent quality here. I feel like the games are going to be in a similar, very, very similar situation. So, Mikey says, I've never played KOTOR. I want to get it for the Switch, but it's taken down from the store. I could play it on PC, but I really want it on a handheld. Yeah. Sometimes those older games, they get delisted in different storefronts and stuff, and it can make it impossible to find them. Game preservation is a huge angle that people have been arguing for, and it's kind of one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why. I added Knights of the Old Republic in my cart, getting it soon. Nice. Well, we could maybe. I don't want to go off topic though. I like the idea of staying single topic. I think we're kind of out of gas on the topic, which is totally fine. The reaction videos were I think a fun thing to do, but the more I was thinking about it, is like this one's too much TV and movies. Let's see. I don't want to just start pulling up like random news stories. You broke down and bought Expedition 33. You're starting it after work. Nice. Is there a chance the Xbox Series X can get the Super Star Wars bundle, the Super NES games? Oh yeah, I don't know. Who owns the rights to those now? I don't actually know. Where if you wanted to get like a collection of them, can you get those as a collection anywhere? I actually don't know if you can. Yeah. All right, we're just going to go to Green Room. I didn't have anything else planned today, so if you guys remember, make sure you're in the Discord. Use the Discord link below or the Discord command, all right? Thanks.